What's it like living as a female expat in Asia? Well, if you're me this morning, it might be a little bit uncomfortable because when I got into work this morning, I received an email that made me immediately very angry, and I sent back a rather terse reply and realized that I'd made a mistake. That in fact, by sending out this very terse email, I had in fact lost some face, and I needed to work very quickly to recover face because I had made a mistake and I needed to own up to it. So what is saving face and losing face? What is this whole thing in Asia that is very important to understanding how communities work and how shame works in a culture that isn't my own? If that's interesting to you, stick around, because after nearly 4 decades in Asia, I'm still making mistakes and still learning, and I don't want you to make those mistakes. So stick with me and I'll explain what face is and why it's important. So first things first, what happened with this email this morning? Well, today is the 24th of August, and I'd been sent an email about something that requires my time on the 24th of September. The thing is that a couple of days ago, someone very senior to me had dicked me around with my time actually for this particular date, for the 24th of August, and there was nothing really I could do about it. I tried to work the timetable, but there was no way, and it was going to inconvenience a lot of people, but I couldn't go against what this senior person needed. So I felt already as if my time was not being respected. And then as soon as I saw this email this morning, I thought, oh, here we go again, somebody else not respecting my time. So I shot back an email that said, hey, I'm really busy, this is inconvenient, and this can't happen. And of course, as soon as I pressed send, I realized that I was a month away. It's a month away, and I will have time then, and I can help those people with what they've requested. So I did the recall of the email, but of course it had already been read by 1 or 2 people, and I realized that I had to jump in there and own up to that. And for us as Westerners, we're okay with, admitting that we've done something wrong. We just say, look, I'm sorry, I've made a mistake here, and it doesn't always solve the problem. But in this case, I had made a mistake and I just owned up to it. Now, I understood that there's more to it than me just saying, oh, sorry, I got the date wrong. I realized that what I had done was made other people feel uncomfortable. And this is saving face and losing face. So what is face? Well, it comes from a Confucian background, the religion of Confucianism, which is all about harmony and collective harmony. And anybody who's spent any time in Asia understands how simply intrinsically important it is to make sure that the people that you're working with, the people that you live with within your family, are living within collective harmony. It is far more important that everybody lives in harmony than it is getting a job done. And I know that sounds crazy, but ask anybody who's lived in Asia for a long time and they will confirm that that is true. It is actually very vital to make sure that everybody is comfortable and everybody is on the same page, far more than it is for the individual to stand up and take credit for something or push forward without checking with the collective first. So this is where it starts. It starts in the religion of Confucian. And it can be, not Confucian, and it can be very, very frustrating for Westerners because we are trained to be individuals. We are trained to work on the idea of the concept of the individual and the individual's right. Whereas in Southeast Asia, with harmony being at the core to everything that happens, if somebody's put out, if they've been embarrassed, everybody is embarrassed. The whole collective is embarrassed. And so it's really important that you make sure that that shame, that embarrassment, doesn't affect the whole group. So people will bend themselves out of shape to make sure that everybody is living in harmony and working in harmony, even when mistakes are being made. So what I did when it came to this particular email this morning is I sent out the email that apologized immediately and said, look, I have made a terrible mistake. Of course, I will help you. And what happened next is a classic example of what I'm talking about here, because the email that I replied from the people that had read the email was all about them protecting my face. They flattered me enormously. You know, any time that we have with you, we appreciate so much. We love everything that you do. Thank you so much for your, you know, your support. You're always so kind. They didn't address the fact that I had been cranky. They didn't want to address the fact that I had been cranky. They wanted to be harmonious. So rather than say, yeah, sure, look, got it, you know, don't worry, or whatever, they were overtly aware of the fact that I had lost face and that I had created this kind of disharmony. Now they might have been, you know, they might have sat there and thought, oh, she's being a real cow. You know, how dare she respond this way? But they wanted to assuage my shame, which is shameful in itself. Actually, it's making me blush. But they wanted to assuage my shame because they just want us to work together in harmony and have what the Thais call grenjai, which is a sort of a good heart, a hardworking heart, and so I found that that's when I knew that I had lost face and that I had made them lose face, and I knew it. I knew it as soon as I sent the email, because not just about the fact that I had gotten the date wrong, but that I had reacted in the way. The face losing is not about me making a mistake on the date. The face losing is my reaction. And to prevent doing things like this, you will find that people in Southeast Asia will do anything. So if you have put your car in for a service and you'd like to have it back on Friday, but the mechanic knows that he can't get it back on Friday, rather than say, I can't get it back on Friday, if you say, will this be ready on Friday? He'll say, we'll do it possibly. And you think, oh, great, that's possible. Well, that's fantastic. Like, it'll be ready on Friday. But it's not going to be ready on Friday. He doesn't want to say no. He doesn't want you to be upset. He doesn't want to be upset as well. But most of all, he doesn't want you to be upset. So he will say, yeah, that is possible. If you ask for something directly, can I get this done? They'll say, we'll look into it. We'll absolutely, yeah, we'll do our best. We'll do our best, which is a no. It's a no. But being able to say no is very, very difficult. And this is the harmony that we're talking about. It's a mutually understood contract between all of the people in the room that know that this situation is not going the way that you expect it. But rather than just say no to you, rather than just say, yeah, no, that's a mess, which is what my colleagues should have said, yeah, you really screwed up there, that was stupid, why did you react that way? They are going to say things like, we really appreciate you, everything is good, making sure that everything is softly. And it does become frustrating for Westerners. I'm not saying that I should have been shouted back at, and I didn't shout, but, that kind of thing. More to the point is that when you ask a direct question and you expect a direct answer, if there's a situation where somebody's not sure or they have to say no, but they don't want to, they will find other words. They will find other ways to approach that. And what should you do? Okay, what should I have done in that situation? What I should have done is A, taken a breath, B, checked my dates, but also come to realize that I have to work harmoniously within this situation. And so you have to also do that. Standing there and shouting at immigration because, you don't understand what's going on is going to get you absolutely nowhere. Making another person lose face is not going to help you. It's not about you losing face. It's about the collective losing face. So this idea of just saying, why don't you just tell me directly what is happening? Oh my God, it's just not going to happen. So you have to look into what it is. You have to step back and think, okay, what's the actual dynamic here? The actual dynamic is that this situation, this person I'm speaking to either doesn't have the authority to say yes to me, but cannot say no to me. So is going to pretend like they're going to say, yeah, that sounds good. That certainly is a possibility. That's something that can happen. No. And so you have to stop and think for a minute outside of your own little bubble and look at the larger circle. Is this possible? If it doesn't appear to be possible, what can I do next to make it clear that I understand that your yes is a no? So would you like some real tips about making this not happen? Okay. If a mistake has been made, please, if the other person has made a mistake or something has happened and it's been dissatisfactory to you, unsatisfactory to you, please make sure that whatever you do it privately. Don't do it publicly. Public shame is the worst. So whatever you're doing, if something has gone wrong and you're really, really angry about it, or you're very disappointed in something, do not let that person lose face in front of other people. So if you need to correct, make sure you correct privately. That's number one. Super, super important. The next most important thing that you need to do is you need to find a way for them to explain what's happened. Just to avoid face doesn't mean to say that you cannot confront something, okay? You are allowed to be angry if things are not right, and you can confront something that's wrong. But what you've got to do is you've got to say things like, can you help me understand what happened here? Can you help me understand where my misunderstanding is? Don't say something like, why did you do it this way, or why have you made this mistake? Don't put that on them. Instead, you need to say things like, can you help me to understand this? I feel like I'm missing something here. And then that gives them a little bit of breathing space to be able to explain where the mistake has taken place. That's number two. The next thing that has to happen is that you have to separate the action from the person doing the action. So instead of saying, look, you don't know what you're doing here. You told me my car was going to be ready on Friday and it isn't, you're an idiot. You have to say something more like, well, we need to fix this situation. What's the best way to fix this situation? So make the action more about what can be attained, through the situation, as opposed to this person, you've made a mistake and you need to fix this. And a part of that is getting them involved in correcting the situation. So what can we do together that can make this better? What can we do together that's going to solve this problem? Instead of making it about them correcting it, take it on board as part of the harmonious way that we are all going to work together and we're all going to get this situation resolved. So in the case of your car, what can we do you think, to make sure that my car is available on the weekend? Is there something, how can we do that together? How can I help you with that? And make it sort of more that you are part of the inner circle of the harmonious circle to make sure that this actually does get done. And once you have found some kind of solution around the problem, make sure that you give the credit where it's due. Say something like, thank you very much for helping me get that organized. Thank you so much for helping us to find a solution to this, which is how I was corrected today in this email, which is what was happening. And that's when I knew that I had in fact been very disharmonious and made a mistake. That was my mistake, right? Because when somebody came forward and said to me, thank you so much for all that you do to help us, I thought, okay, here is this softly. They would like us to be harmonious. I would like to be harmonious as well. But me being angry was not helping the situation. And so if you're in a situation where you are upset, you are angry. I'm not saying you're never going to get angry, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't get angry. If something is wrong, you need to call it out. But finding a better way and when there is a solution found, making sure that you put that nice part back in there and say, thanks very much for that. Everything that you do has been really, really helpful. I really appreciate. And that allows for some dignity to remain in the situation. And that's what you want to do. You want to save face, but you also want to give face to this person by saying, if you've done it publicly, make sure you give the credit publicly as well. If you've done it privately, hopefully, then make sure you can do that privately, and you can do that publicly as well. This was really helpful. Thank you so much. This really has assisted me in a way that is useful. And that person then has somewhere to stand. They have standing again between you and they, and between the others as well. So I hope this little exploration into face and saving face, and when yes means no, has been helpful to you. It certainly was a good reminder for me this morning. I knew as soon as I'd done it, I knew that even with all of the years of living in Asia, I can be quite straight and direct. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but if you're going to get anywhere in Southeast Asia with something that you need to get done and you need somebody else's help, or you need to be taken seriously, standing there stomping your feet and shouting, even if it's through an email, is never going to work, trust me. So there you go, lesson learned, and I hope that's been useful to you. Thank you very much for your time. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.